World War I, a conflict of unprecedented scale and ferocity, forever altered the course of human history. It was a war that not only involved the major powers of Europe, but also drew in nations from every corner of the globe, making it a truly global conflict. From 1914 to 1918, Europe descended into a maelstrom of violence, drawing in nations from across the globe. The war saw the mobilization of over 70 million military personnel, making it one of the largest wars in history. This Great War, as it was initially known, shattered empires, redrew national boundaries, and left millions dead or wounded. The Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, Russian, and German empires all crumbled under the weight of the conflict, leading to significant political and social upheaval. Its reverberations continue to shape the geopolitical landscape and collective memory of the world today. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, aimed to bring lasting peace, but instead sowed the seeds of future conflicts, including World War II. The war's origins were complex and multifaceted, rooted in a tangled web of alliances, rivalries, and ideologies. Nationalism, militarism, and imperial ambitions all played a role in creating a volatile environment ripe for conflict. A confluence of factors, simmering for decades, finally boiled over in the summer of 1914, plunging the world into darkness. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary by a Serbian nationalist was the spark that ignited the powder keg. This essay delves into the intricate tapestry of events that led to the outbreak of World War I, examining the key causes and major phases of the conflict in its early years. We will explore the diplomatic failures, the military strategies, and the human stories behind the headlines. From the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand to the horrors of trench warfare on the Western Front, we will explore the war's devastating impact on soldiers and civilians alike. The trenches, stretching from the North Sea to the Swiss border, became a symbol of the war's brutality and futility. We will also examine the global reach of the conflict, highlighting the technological advancements that forever changed the face of warfare. Innovations such as tanks, airplanes, and chemical weapons introduced new dimensions of destruction and terror. By understanding the causes, consequences, and enduring legacy of World War I, we gain a deeper understanding of the forces that have shaped our modern world. The war's aftermath saw the rise of new ideologies, the redrawing of borders, and the emergence of the United States as a global power. It is a story of ambition and folly, of courage and sacrifice, and of the enduring human capacity for both destruction and resilience. The lessons of World War I continue to resonate, reminding us of the costs of conflict and the importance of striving for peace.
To comprehend the outbreak of World War I, one must first unravel the intricate web of long-term factors that set the stage for global conflict. The early 20th century was a period of intense political, social, and economic change, and these transformations played a crucial role in shaping the events that led to the war. Among these, nationalism, militarism, imperialism, and a complex system of alliances stand out as primary catalysts. These elements did not exist in isolation, but were deeply interconnected, each one feeding into and exacerbating the others. Nationalism, a potent force in the early 20th century, fueled rivalries and territorial disputes across Europe. This sense of national pride and identity was not merely about cultural or linguistic unity, it was also about political power and territorial expansion. Each nation, driven by a sense of its own superiority and destiny, sought to assert its dominance on the world stage. Leaders used nationalist rhetoric to rally public support, often portraying their nation as being under threat from external enemies. This fervent nationalism, particularly pronounced in Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, created a climate of suspicion and hostility. In these empires, nationalism was not just about pride, but also about survival and dominance.
Coupled with this fervent nationalism was a dangerous arms race. The major powers of Europe were not only competing for prestige and territory, but also for military superiority. European powers, locked in a cycle of suspicion and competition, engaged in a massive military buildup. This arms race was not just about numbers, it was also about technological advancements and strategic positioning. Germany's burgeoning naval power challenged Britain's long-held maritime supremacy. The British, who had long prided themselves on their naval dominance, saw the German buildup as a direct threat to their security and global influence. Meanwhile, France and Russia expanded their armies at an alarming rate. Both nations were determined to protect their interests and counter the growing power of Germany and Austria-Hungary. This militarization fostered a culture of aggression and heightened the potential for conflict. The belief that war was inevitable and perhaps even desirable became more widespread among both military leaders and the general public.
Meanwhile, imperial ambitions further strained relations between European powers. The quest for colonies was not just about prestige, it was also about economic resources and strategic advantages. The scramble for colonies in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific created friction and fueled resentment. These regions were seen as vital sources of raw materials and markets for manufactured goods, making them highly coveted, particularly between Germany and Great Britain. The two nations clashed over their respective colonial ambitions, each seeking to expand its influence at the expense of the other. The competition for resources and markets exacerbated existing tensions, pushing Europe closer to the brink. Economic rivalries intertwined with political and military ones, creating a volatile mix.
Finally, a complex web of alliances entangled the continent. These alliances were meant to provide security and deter aggression, but they also created rigid blocks that could easily be drawn into conflict. Germany and Austria-Hungary formed the Central Powers, a coalition that sought to counterbalance the influence of their rivals, while France, Russia and Great Britain constituted the Triple Entente. This alliance aimed to contain the ambitions of the Central Powers and protect their own interests. These alliances, intended to deter aggression, ironically made it more likely that a minor incident could escalate into a wider war. The interconnected nature of these alliances meant that any conflict involving one nation risked dragging its allies into the fray. Any conflict involving one nation risked dragging its allies into the fray, creating a domino effect with potentially catastrophic consequences. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914 was the spark that ignited this volatile mix, leading to a war that would engulf the world.
The Balkans, a region long plagued by ethnic and religious tensions, became the tinderbox that ignited the First World War. This area, often referred to as the powder keg of Europe, was a melting pot of various ethnicities, languages, and religions. The complex interplay of these diverse groups created a volatile environment ripe for conflict. The Ottoman Empire, once a dominant force in the region, was in decline, creating a power vacuum that various ethnic groups sought to fill. The weakening of Ottoman control led to a scramble among emerging nations and empires to assert their dominance. This decline was not just a political shift, but also a social and economic upheaval affecting millions of lives. Austria-Hungary, eager to expand its influence in the Balkans, viewed the growing Serbian nationalist movement with suspicion and alarm. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, a multi-ethnic conglomerate itself, feared the rise of nationalism within its borders. The empire's leaders were particularly wary of Serbia's ambitions, seeing them as a direct threat to their own stability and territorial integrity. Serbia, for its part, sought to unite all South Slavs under its banner, a goal that directly challenged Austro-Hungarian dominance in the region. The idea of a greater Serbia, encompassing all South Slavic peoples, was a powerful and emotive vision for many Serbs. This nationalist dream was fueled by a sense of historical destiny and a desire to resist foreign domination. The annexation of Bosnia and Herzegovina by Austria-Hungary in 1908 further inflamed Serbian nationalists, who viewed it as a direct threat to their aspirations. This move was seen as an aggressive act of imperialism, undermining the hopes of those who dreamed of a united South Slavic state. The annexation not only heightened tensions between Serbia and Austria-Hungary, but also drew in other powers with interests in the region. It was against this backdrop of simmering tensions that Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie arrived in Sarajevo, Bosnia on June 28, 1914. Their visit was intended to showcase the strength and unity of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but it also highlighted the deep divisions and resentments that existed within the region. Their visit, intended as a show of strength and unity, instead provided the spark that ignited the powder keg of European conflict. The presence of the Archduke in Sarajevo was a provocative symbol to many Serbian nationalists, who saw it as a direct affront to their aspirations for independence and unity. As the Archduke's motorcade made its way through the city, a young Serbian nationalist, Gavrilo Princip, seized his opportunity. Princip, driven by a fervent belief in the cause of Serbian nationalism, had been waiting for this moment. His actions were not just the result of personal conviction, but also part of a broader conspiracy aimed at destabilizing the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Princip, a member of the Black Hand, a secret society dedicated to Serbian unification, fired 2 shots into the open car, mortally wounding the Archduke and his wife. The Black Hand was a shadowy organization committed to using violence and terror to achieve its goals. Princip's assassination of the Archduke was a calculated act intended to provoke a crisis that would advance the cause of Serbian nationalism. The assassination sent shockwaves across Europe, setting in motion a chain of events that would plunge the continent into war. The murder of Franz Ferdinand and Sophie was the catalyst for a series of diplomatic and military maneuvers that rapidly escalated into a full-scale conflict. The assassination highlighted the fragility of the European balance of power and the deep-seated tensions that had been building for years. Within weeks, alliances were activated, armies mobilized, and the world was on the brink of a war that would change the course of history.